So I'm sure by now everyone has seen the Indigo Disc DLC news that came out this week. We ended up figuring out that some Pokemon were going to be back, and based on my previous video in regards to legendary Pokemon, it was pretty much 100% confirmed that we're getting specific legendary Pokemon back, and some of them will be version exclusives. I think the biggest issue in regards to the trailer is that, me personally, I didn't see anything novel when it came to that DLC trailer. I don't think the trailer showed me anything crazy because I already kind of knew due to all the leaks and all the data mining that's been going on, which it kind of does hinder the excitement for me. But at the same time, if I was coming from a perspective that I don't read the leaks or all that stuff, I mean, you can kind of guess based on what happened in the Crown Tundra DLC for Generation 8. You kind of already knew what was going to be added back to the game. And I think it comes down to just poor marketing when it comes to Pokemon. Because, truth be told, what is the point of buying the DLC? Aside from getting an expanded small portion of the region being explorable and getting new Pokemon. Now, before we get into it, please like and subscribe to your boy. We're trying to get to 10K. Let's jump right back into this. I personally believe Pokemon's and Game Freak's worst mistake was implementing DLC. Now, hear me out. Now, of course, I'm going to buy DLC because I want to complete the Pokedex. I want to have all the Pokemon to myself. And it's not being a sheep. I just want to see the experience and understand what their logic behind all of this. That way I can communicate to other people, especially those on my channel or those who are new viewers. Now, I really think Dexit, if you guys remember when they started cutting Pokemon from Generation 8 and beyond, was a pretty big red flag because now they have to rehash all these Pokemon back into the game. They're going to put a paywall. Everyone's going to buy it. And don't forget, you still have to get Pokemon Home because remember, Pokemon Bank had to be closed down and they realized, oh, we can't do that. So they got Pokemon Bank for free. And now you got to pay for Pokemon Home, which is not really that expensive at all. Of course, that depends on who you're talking to. The general audience tend to be children and adolescent people. And you have to buy the main games. You have to buy the DLC. DLC packs are like $30, $40, depending on where you're from, whether you're from the US or Canada. I don't know about everyone else. But it just seems so like blatantly erroneous that we're seeing the same Pokemon over and over again rehashed behind a paywall in DLC. Do you guys remember if you played in Generation 7 where we had access to 400 Pokemon within Sun and Moon itself? And then once Pokemon Bank got released a couple months later, all Pokemon were available. Like at that point, it was like about 700, 800 plus Pokemon that were available from the get go. As soon as Pokebank was re released and updated for Generation 7, I remember that. There was no need of a DLC paywall. There was no need of a update that had to get paid. Of course, Pokebank is its own thing, but Pokebank was still functionable within all generations, especially with the Virtual Console being very prominent in Nintendo 3DS library. But to see the transition from that to what we're seeing on the Switch, which is supposedly huge expectations considering what the Switch has done to multiple franchises, but it's like Pokemon just falling back. I personally think Game Freak gotta go, and I made plenty of videos about that and why Game Freak is basically holding Pokemon back from its true massive potential. And of course, based on seeing on the type of products they've been putting out with Generation 8 and Generation 9, it's starting to look really grim. And I'm not sure if you guys seen the actual full list of Pokemon coming back. We did see the legendaries, but I'm gonna go over to Cerebi and we're just gonna go from the list of Pokemon that are going to be re-released in the DLC. Now, of course, we're getting new Pokemon. I mean, getting new Pokemon is always cool, but here's the thing: what's gonna make me want to play Pokemon DLC for more than 3 hours? There's obviously new toy syndrome. Everyone's gonna jump on the bandwagon for a couple hours, a week, maybe a month after its release. But what's going to keep us entertained from playing this game continuously? I remember when Pokemon games, they would take hours and hours and hours of actual main story and mainline gameplay, and then post story, there's battles, there's trades, and all that stuff. That feeling is just gone with these new Pokemon games. Now, of course, Legends Arceus still is the shining cream of the crop because it was a very unique and very fun and exciting experience. But considering that we're seeing Pokemon being locked behind a paywall, and it's funny that all these Pokemon that you'll see on your screen right now, I guarantee that you already have this in Pokemon Home. If you guys have these in Pokemon Home, you just transfer it over. You technically don't need a DLC to get all the Pokemon back. Now, of course, if you're somebody who just got introduced to Pokemon via Generation 9, then obviously that's a different story. But I think the community is just so massive and has a lot of resources to the point that you can get any Pokemon you want without paying anything. And that's been the case for quite a few years at this point. But to see like this list, like for example, Necrozma, Lunala, Solgaleo, they've been rehashed in last generations, and then of course they were introduced in Generation 7. They were transferable Pokemon. But to me, for somebody who has been playing Pokemon for a very long time, like I already have all these Pokemon in Pokemon Home. What is the point of the DLC? Paid DLC, by the way, in order to bring these Pokemon back? Is it for a new adventure? Clearly the adventure doesn't last for more than a couple hours. Is it the new characters? Well, characters in this generation have been pretty forgettable outside of a couple that I somewhat like, and even then, they're pretty forgettable at this point in time. And this game has only been out for a little over a year. Like, why do I care about Bulbasaur when I have 50 of them in Pokemon Home already? Why do I care about Lugia and Ho when they already been captured from Sword and Shield, and I already have multiple of these Pokemon from previous generations that are already in Pokemon Home? And I have shiny events, I have shiny versions of them. It's just, what is the whole point? And of course, the new Pokemon, while I do want to see more novelty behind these Pokemon, I will give them credit that at least they're not giving away any more information in regards to Terrapagos and the new 19th Terra type, which from what I'm reading, it's kind of a game breaker, but we'll see once the actual DLC gets dropped. But again, what is the whole point of paid DLC when I can literally just transfer these Pokemon back? And I've seen these Pokemon appear in several generations already. Like, they keep showing us legendary Pokemon like Ho-Oh, Lugia, the Lottie twins, but they're not novel Pokemon. These are Pokemon that have been around for years, over a decade, and they keep getting rehashed into further generations. They used to be free via Pokebank. I mean, Pokebank technically is not free. Well, back then it wasn't. Now it is. But you can bring these Pokemon back for free, and then you have Pokemon Home. If they're in Pokemon Home, you can transfer them for free instead of paying a DLC. So again, what is the whole point? And I think Dexit really didn't do anyone any favors when it comes to, cutting away Pokemon and then putting them behind a paywall, and they're getting rehashed every single time. So yeah, it's pretty much is what I wanted to talk about. Something that's been on my mind for quite a while, and I've heard other, PokeTubers complaining about the trailer as well. Like, what was the whole point? Yeah, we did get to see certain stuff within that trailer, like, hey, we get to walk around with our Pokemon, from their perspective. Hey, we get some cool mystery gifts and Terra raid battles, but what is the whole point of all that kind of stuff? Like, what's the whole point of the Blueberry Academy? Is it supposed to be something that can potentially benefit me in the long run? What about, the synchronization of Pokemon, like walking around with your Pokemon? That's something not really novel because it has been around in main Pokemon games and spin offs. So, again, what are they trying to sell us that is unique, that is refreshing? I still think if they make another Legends Arceus game for a different generation, that would be phenomenal. They should just stick to that because, quite frankly, the mainline series Pokemon games, barbecue chicken. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Please like and subscribe. That is the best way to support me for free. It's your boy Franklin signing out. Peace.